Hello and welcome to the Rogue Monkey podcast. My name is Kevin Pickard and I'm here to share stories from innovators and disruptors from around the world. This week we are speaking to Nick Hounsfield, founder of The Wave, an inland surfing destination and the ultimate outdoor immersive experience. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to explore the journey of an entrepreneur, from startup back in 2010 to the £30 million project that it is now. Nick is one of the most humble, inspiring and resilient people that I've ever had the pleasure of interviewing, and the next 30 minutes is captivating from start to finish. So let's get straight into it, and episode 26 of the Rogue Monkey podcast. Changing lives one wave at a time. A conversation with the founder of The Wave and the chair at Surfing England, Nick Hounsfield. Good morning, Nick. How are we doing?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Really good.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. I've given everyone a little bit of an introduction as to your kind of headline information, but if you can just give our listeners and viewers just a little bit of an idea of your story so far.
I'm founder of The Wave, which is a large inland surf destination on the outskirts of Bristol. My background was actually osteopathy. I was in the healthcare profession for nearly 20 years, and then started down the road of wanting to create an amazing destination where people could be, I guess I would summarize it as find the best version of themselves. So around being outdoors, being healthy, being hopefully a place where we grow a really good community of people, advocates, and also break down some of the perceived barriers in society. So making sure that we're having access for people of all ages, all backgrounds and all abilities. So I started that 10 years ago. We opened last year, almost exactly a year ago, and has been an incredible success in spite of really weird 12 months that we've just had. So excited for the future, but really enjoying the process and the journey that we've been on.
Fantastic. There's so many aspects to it, and it's not obviously just a surfing destination. There's so much more that comes with it. So kind of go back maybe 15, 20 years into kind of your earlier life. At what point was there this affinity to all things coast, conservation, potentially social change through physical activity, that sort of thing? Where did that kind of stem from?
I've always loved the water, surfing, fishing, being actually even not just coastal. Also, I used to work in a fishery since I was about 14, 15 years old, basically being a bailiff in terms of going around making sure that the lake's being kept really well and tidy. And so I've always been around water, something that my dad got me into when I was about 5 years old. First go surfing, went down surfing the beaches at Portreath down in North Cornwall. But it's just my go-to place. It's the place where if I'm feeling fractious, or I'm feeling worried, or if I'm feeling anxious, then I'm always drawn to water. That's the place where I find my best self. And I think my family would agree that if I've had a day in the water or on the water, then I definitely come back re-energized and feel like my mind's just been reset. And it's something that I really value myself, and therefore it's something that I really wanted to share with other people. And I guess the sort of helping other people, I don't know really. It's just something that I really, since a young age, it's something that I guess it's from my parents. They've always trying to help people, care about people probably more than they care about themselves at times. And it's something that's been ingrained within me. It's no surprise that, you know, my younger sister is also in healthcare. My older sister's in healthcare. So there's definitely something within that we, we've grown up trying to help others. And that's something that just continues, really. Even though I'm in a surfing world now, it's all about trying to help others get the best out of themselves.
Fantastic. Well, if we go back then to in 2010, when you sat there and said, I've got this idea and this vision and that sort of thing, where do you actually start from, you know, the sketchbook with the little picture of a lake, and actually turn around and go, we're going to make this happen? And what does the start of that journey look like? Because a lot of people, I guess, have dreams, but actually there's a huge leap to get from pen and paper to there.
Yeah, I guess at that stage it was naivety that enabled me to really get going on the journey, because I was thinking pretty low scale, small scale, thinking about, originally I was just wanting to create a destination, a place to get people outdoors and into nature. I was thinking that it was going to be a river or using a river frontage, or maybe a lake. And it was only later that the surfing, probably about 6 months later on that journey, that the ability to create waves on, in a really lovely destination suddenly was possible. And that I guess was the eureka moment, where I was starting to come up with ideas and started to sort of, literally sketch ideas, and then quite a lot of inspiration from people like Tim Smith, who set up the Eden Project and Lost Gardens of Heligan. I was thinking that could be a great cross generational mixing that could happen. And it was then actually later that I was able to then really dream about bringing surfing inland for the first time. And yeah, it was literally drawing out, sketching out lots of ideas, and putting a very basic business plan together, and going, oh well, I reckon I could get X number of people through the doors, and that would pay for our costs, and then we can do this amazing social impact stuff off the side of it. But yeah, it absolutely ballooned over 10 years. Started off with, what I thought was just a couple of £1 million project, just a couple. That's still massive amount, but it's now nearly £30 million project. And yeah, I needed a team to be able to deliver that. Yeah.
It must be a very inspiring group of people, because obviously on this kind of journey, as you said, it ballooned, and it's something that grows and develops, I guess, over time. So actually, I guess that team that you've got around you are as much invested in the project, and does it become like a family of people that are driving you towards this dream, this vision, to make such a big difference?
Yeah, 100%. They're along the way. I guess it's sort of scaled up along the way. Sort of, original people that helped put in time and money to get things going. And they're still on board at the moment, but as time went on, and as the whole project ballooned, we needed some pretty heavy hitters out there who really have understand how you operate, having 700 people arriving on one summer's day, and how you operate the food and beverage side and the retail side and the booking platform and the IT systems and 170 staff members. None of those things I've ever done before. And so it's just bringing in, I guess, my power that I have is that I can convince people that something is a good idea. And and bring people along the journey with me. And Craig, for instance, who's my friend and CEO, he's been on the journey for now nearly 6-7 years, and bringing him along completely transformed, taking a really great vision and idea to reality. And without him, this would not have been built. Same with our investors. We had somebody who needed to jump in at the right time and put their money where their mouth is, and that was very hard. We ended up seeing nearly 200 investors over the course of nearly 2 years, and we only found one investor, but we only needed one investor, but it was the right investor. So yeah, we did have to, really had to bring people along the journey and inspire people and get people excited for it, because it's never been done before in this way, fraught with a load of risk. However, yeah, the rewards are coming now in terms of it's open. When we've been open, we've traded really, really well, and also delivered some incredible social impact even in this first year. So it's all set for a great future.
I was going to ask you about, I guess, having such a, despite challenging first year, what was it like, say, October, November last year, when the doors first opened and you stood there and watched everyone walking past you and getting into the water, and it went from, perhaps the young naive businessman with the notepad through to somebody standing there actually going, here we are, we're ready, we're open. What was that moment actually like?
Absolutely terrifying. Actually, I'll not lie. Actually, now that I'm a year wiser and a lot of things have happened even over this last year, I suddenly realized that I was just completely terrified. I felt like I was completely out of my depth, and very, very thankful that I had amazing people to lean on, who equally were quite worried at times, because again, this has never been done before. The various parts of the jigsaw puzzle have been done before, but not all together. Particularly on top of that, we had new technology, which we were just learning how to use it and all the rest of it. So, and the team stepped up and did amazingly. I would say that a lot of the first couple of months was a lot of the media attention, and so I was very much focused on that. But looking back to a year ago, I think it was quite emotional time, in terms of seeing the realization of 10 years hard work, and the sort of slight come down of that, of going, the relief of, we've got there, but then the heightened anxiety of, oh my goodness, this is pretty much a 24/7 operation now. How can you switch off from it? Because every single day we were getting new people arriving, and they all had expectations. Some people had 10 years worth of expectations since I'd first proposed the whole project, and I felt like a real burden to deliver something that's spectacular. So I think that came with quite a lot of anxiety and trepidation, but equally a huge amount of pride in the team, in what we were delivering at that stage, and where it was going to go, and how it was already changing people's lives on a day-to-day basis. That's the thing that really got me through every single day, going, this is great. A lot of people very, very happy, and there's nothing better than making people happy.
You talked a little bit about, I guess, the your personal meaning of how you take so much from being in the water and those sorts of things. And also this first year hasn't been easy, and for 99.9% of the people out there, they would assume we're talking COVID, but actually I know back in February you actually had a personal challenge that actually I look back now, and obviously so happy that you've got to where you are now, actually looking back thinking there's nothing that can stop you, you know, as an organization and you as a person, like to have come through what you've come through over the last 12 months is incredible. And just, would you be happy just to share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Yeah, I had completely out of the blue on the 1st of February, I had a succession of very big strokes. I was just playing hockey like I normally do. I play for a local team, and right at the beginning of the hockey match, I suddenly couldn't see the ball very well, and then I started to lose the grip in my right hand. Couldn't keep my hockey stick up, and I suddenly got really spooked by it, and very quickly ran to the dugout and sat there, just trying to sort of gather myself. And then everybody started asking, "Are you all right? Why have you gone off right at the beginning of the match?" And I couldn't answer. It was very, very weird. I knew what I wanted to say, but I just couldn't say it. I literally couldn't speak. And I could literally say, I just couldn't find the language at all. It was really weird. And then fundamentally ended up going to the hospital a little bit too late, and ended up having nearly 8 strokes over the course of a couple of hours. And I guess that was pretty life-changing moment for me, really. Feeling like a fit and well individual, suddenly it felt like the world was crashing down around me. And yeah, it was pretty humbling experience, really. And it's managed to get my language back within a few weeks. Started to come back better. With a few months it got better and better, and what are we now, about 10-11 months, and yeah, I'm doing really well. I can obviously speak well, a bit hesitant at times, but I feel like I've dodged a massive bullet. I can run, I can play hockey again, I can surf, and I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones, really.
So intertwining those two things together, do you think having such a, let's call it a yo-yoing year in terms of COVID and opening and then closing and then the strokes and everything else, looking forwards, do you think all of that experience has changed, I guess, not just your vision for the wave itself, but actually your life journey going forwards?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, I've been harping on quite a lot, particularly to friends and family, around this whole thing about perspective. You know, I think the whole world right now has now gone through a bit of an awakening on what's, you know, giving people some perspective on what's really important in their life, the way that they can value the outdoors and nature, and being tuned into experiences rather than buying stuff, and how important it is, you know, their mental health, as well as their physical health. You know, it was such a thing within the first lockdown. I think still is a bit now, but particularly in the first lockdown, it was all about, like, how can you look after yourself at home, and, you know, and really tapping into the mental health issues that comes with being locked down, both physically and emotionally. And actually, from my perspective and from our team's perspective, we now feel like it's the perfect time for something like the Wave to be there, because it is around an experience, getting people outdoors into nature, people that really understand the power of that, and something that we're able to share. And for us, I think the time is right to be able to scale that up. We've got an amazing place in Bristol, and that's going to grow. We're going to have more accommodation coming in next year, so I think the whole experience is just going to blossom. But then we've got it's a nascent market. We know that we can build many more of these in the UK as well as Europe and across the world. And because we've done it once, we're in a really great pole position to do it again. We've got great financial backers behind us. We know that we've got great business model in terms of creating, making sure that we're financially profitable, but making sure that we're looking after the environment at the same time and create social impact wherever we possibly can. And I think that that's a really great model for the future, for a real future-facing business. So I think the stage is set for amazing stuff. We just need to get past COVID, really prove how we've got a great operational team, and then do it again. So we're really excited about that. But with me, I would say a bit more perspective on family first, making sure that I look after my family first, more than anything else, and then work comes second. And I'm very excited about work, but it comes second now.
That's a very powerful message, I'm sure, for everyone out there to hear, because I think it's far too easy to disappear almost down the rabbit hole of work, and before you know it, either a huge chunk of your life's gone past, or with kids and things like that, you miss out on so much. And I've spoke to so many people during the various lockdowns that have actually said, I've had 3 months with my kids, I've never had that before because of the nature of my work and those sorts of things. And you can see people reevaluating career choices, lifestyle choices, all those sorts of things to actually get their life in balance. So it's brilliant. There's one more angle I guess I want to explore a little bit, is the explosion of, I guess, participation in surfing pre even discussions about Olympics, and hopefully next year with the Olympic stage, assuming we all go ahead, and having much wider audience seeing the sport in a mainstream way. Do you think that's going to boost participation and involvement in these sorts of things?
I think it will. I definitely think it will increase the participation, but I don't think there's, apart from the obvious problem of needing to get to waves and to the coastline, which is the main barrier for more people being able to get into the sport, and obviously that's an area that we're part of trying to create the solution to. But I think ultimately I'm really interested, and I'm chairman of Surfing England and have been involved in the British surfing setup. I'm really interested in actually the sport getting the, well, I guess partly the funding that it needs to improve, but to give it the gravitas. It's always been seen as a bit of a hobby, a bit of a pastime, but surfers and surfing have got some of the most incredible athletes, and also wrapped up in it is a great culture and a vibe that you can actually live within. And I think up until now it's not really had the sort of the gravitas that it should have. And I'm really excited. I think the reality of us, particularly in the UK, having podium finishes in oh, sorry about that dog. having podium finishers in the Olympics is going to be challenging for the maybe a couple of cycles. So I'm really interested about setting things up for the long term, both from really good sponsorship, really good funding streams, sustainable funding streams that then allows us to build an organization that is going to be great for the future. I really dig the thought of that. I think it would be amazing.
That's fantastic. On our first season, we had one of the directors of England skateboarding, and they were talking about the same kind of journey that the sport's going on. So it's going to be hopefully a very exciting and positive year on the back of what's been a challenging 18 months.
Yeah.
I guess one final thing to pull it all together, more both life and business, reflecting back across this whole thing, both say you've had some personal challenges, but also some massive business challenges. What kind of takeaway messages have you got for everyone out there that actually, whether it's COVID related or just general life, actually they've got a huge amount of challenge in front of them right now, and they're kind of thinking, how do I start? How do I approach this? How do I move things forwards? What would your message be to everyone out there?
I think the most important thing is start with the vision, start with the idea, and really try and flesh that out in terms of really getting under the skin of the emotional context in which whatever you're wanting to do creates. What I mean by that is that you need to get for yourself, but also for your family, for investors, for business partners. You need people to really get on that journey with you. And the way that you can do that is by really articulating the project or the vision or the idea with as much of emotional context as possible, so that you basically fire all the excuses of why you shouldn't do something. And I think that why is so important. The thing that will be, become your North Star as to why you're doing something. For me, it was about making people healthy, happy, more productive versions of themselves. And why would you not do that? So if you've always got a path to follow, and you can bring people along that journey, and be able to very eloquently describe the vision that you've got there using words, pictures, smell, sound, whatever it might be, but create an incredibly compelling story. People love stories, and people love to get on a journey with you. And I think that would be the main thing, because you're going to have to bring, as I say, friends, family, investors, business partners, all loads of people along with the journey with you. And so you just need that journey to be a very compelling one that they want to join with you and go through hell or high water to get there.
Well, thank you. We'll make sure we include every single link to the different endeavours that you've been involved in, because it is. I remember watching the first video when the builders were still in, but the waves got turned on for the first time, and just that wonder of, oh my God, wow, this is incredible. And like you say, it's so powerful. So we'll make sure we share all of that. But it's been an absolutely inspiring half hour. So Nick, thank you so much for your time this morning.
That's a pleasure. Great to see you.
Wow, what a discussion that was. Thank you again, Nick, for sharing your time with us. Certainly a fascinating and inspiring story from start to finish, and I think one that we can all relate to in terms of being resilient and valuing the things that matter most to us in these strange times. All the links that we mentioned in that discussion are included in the show notes, and selfishly, I'm super excited to hear more about the Wave and what happens with their planned project in London, as it's not too far from me, and as a landlocked surfer it would be awesome to be able to surf every week without having to drive hours and hours to the coast. Please make sure you head to our own social media pages, share the show with your friends, and let us know what you thought. We really do like hearing from our listeners. Next week, we're going to be discussing the area of mental health, and it's my first discussion where I'm going to have 2 guests on the show at the same time. So make sure you join us next week. But until then, have a great week, and thanks for joining us on the Rogue Monkey podcast.